Greetings everyone. This video is another small part of a longer video I'm currently working on, and also a trailer of sorts for it. Link to the complete version will be placed in this video's description once it's finally finished and released. Spears of the Church, Painting Guardians and Dark Sun Gwyndolin. And basically the Church of Filianore, both as literal building and a covenant, provides some very peculiar connections to Anor, its gods and covenants. So, most obviously, right on the entrance doors to the church we may see some rather familiar hooded figures with staves. In fact, these figures are pretty much the same that we could see in Oolacile Cathedral. And, as we speculated in a very old video, they seem to depict no one other than Gwyndolin as a nameless moon deity, since the statues hold staves with the symbol of Dark Sun and depict pretty much the very same clothes once worn by Gwyndolin, only their faces are hidden under hoods. Which appears rather interesting, as the Dark Moon Covenant once led by Gwyndolin and Spears of the Church are somewhat akin, since both are carrying out the will of Anor gods, and are meant to punish those who sinned against these gods. But, the figures on the church's entrance doors aren't the only thing that we may note in common between Filianore's knights and, at least, Oolacile. For the very altar of the Spears of the Church features some headless figures holding spears. But, even though their heads are missing, it's still possible to note that these small sculptures are very similar to the statues of young squires we may find piled up in another church. Church of Yorshka in Oolacile. And, as funny coincidence, we may note that there's Yorshka's spear associated with her church. Basically the statues of young squires depict them holding swords used by silver knights of Anor, which, I believe, may explain somewhat a weird way the Ringed City version of these statues hold their spears. Thus the young squires are apparently meant to become silver knights one day. And, we may actually find some statues of Gwyn's knights across the Ringed City, and even get invaded by Silver Knight Clodo. But, we may actually note another possible similarity, or even link, between the Ringed City and Anor Oolacile, though this one will require a little more speculation. So, as we attempt to proceed to the sleeping Princess Filianore, Judicator Argo summons Spears of the Church to stop us, and, aside of half-flight, we may also face enemies who seem to be the Painting Guardians. Warriors who had been defending the painting of our enemies in Anor long ago, passing down their duty through generations. And, since we could find them in Anor in times when being deserted it was secretly governed by Gwyndolin, and also considering the possible relation of Gwyndolin to the painted world we discussed in earlier videos, I guess that it may be speculated the Painting Guardians could provide a link not only to Anor but possibly also Gwyndolin. And another very peculiar thing related to them is that in the Ringed City we may find some very special throwing blades, very reminiscent of swords used by Painting Guardians. Only, now they're rather associated with the Church Guardians, not the Painting Guardians, which may be speculated to reveal the further fate of Painting Guardians after, apparently, the loss of Ariami's painting. Although, of course, it's also possible that the Church Guardians are warriors of same martial arts as Painting Guardians, but were already guarding the church while others of their kind, more familiar to us, protected the painting. But most peculiar about this weapon is that it actually projects illusory blades, since we may recall that Painting Guardians once resided in Anor in times when its son and princess were already but illusions upkept by Gwyndolin, Master of Illusions. And, although it's quite a speculation, may these illusion-casting blades be somehow related to Gwyndolin's powers? And speaking of illusions, curiously enough, aside of the painting, Church Guardians with their illusory shifts, we also face Half-Light, who uses light-manipulating sorceries of Oolacile. I guess it may make us wonder whether is there any relation between them, as light manipulation sounds like something similar to illusions. And, although it's yet another wild speculation, I guess that the two types of such magic may actually be originating from the same source. As, illusory blades of Church Guardians may be related to Gwyndolин's powers, which is already an enormous speculation. While in ancient land of Oolacile we could find rather curious statues holding the white branches, similar to those we discussed earlier, which were originally used as staves in Oolacile. Looking at these headless statues we may note that they depict some clothes which are already very familiar to us. As, similarly to Oolacile's statues, these clothes appear to be Gwyndolин's robes. So, may it be so that Oolacile, that had close ties to Anor, got its light manipulation sorceries from Gwyndolin, who was known for his illusions and ability to cast sorceries with faith. but not intelligence. And returning to the ringed city, could Filianore's sleep and its effect on the world be somehow related to some sort of illusions? However, regarding Half-Light's boss fight, though I'd rather call it Judicator boss fight, even though he is not the boss enemy we fight, I guess we may say that this situation when we are warned not to enter the fog, and are scolded by the enemy for violating the god's will, is also quite reminiscent of Gwyndolin's boss fight in Dark Souls 1.
What foolishness!
Foolishness to forswear thy covenant and the king's decree.
Thou shalt not go unpunished.
I shall bring this defiled spear to justice.
Well, I apologize that it's just another snippet of the video I'm still working on. But as unfortunately I don't really have much of free time, I guess it might be better if I publish at least such short videos for now, while I'm still working on the complete video. I hope that these baseless speculations at least weren't boring to you, and maybe you'd like to watch some of my old lore, etymology or cosplay videos, if you haven't seen them yet. Also, you can check out the video description for a link to the etymology videos table of contents, if you're interested in this topic, as it's meant to make it easy to find the discussion of the necessary names.